Donald Trump has told a rally at a U.S. steel plant in Pennsylvania that he intends to double U.S. steel import tariffs to 50%. The president said the increase would offer the country's steel industry more security and vowed to stop any countries getting around the new rate.
Another new tariff turnaround from President Trump, announcing on Sunday he will delay his plan to levy a sweeping 50% tariff on the European Union just days after declaring them because, he said, trade talks were going nowhere.
It happened quietly, without a press conference, without a White House announcement, without a major policy win, or a headline proclaiming success. It unfolded behind closed doors, in boardrooms, on earnings calls, and through internal memos. And by the time the public realized what was happening, it was already too late. 5 major U.S. companies have confirmed what many feared, but few dared to say aloud. They're leaving. Not because of rising labor costs or technological shifts, but because of tariffs. Because of a trade war that was meant to strengthen America, but is instead pushing some of its most iconic brands out of their own home turf. And the true cost? It's far greater than anyone in Washington is willing to admit. Before we go any further, make sure to hit that like button. It helps us beat the YouTube algorithm and lets us know you're with us. The first sign came quietly. From Bentonville, Arkansas, the hometown of Walmart. As the largest retailer in the country and a bellwether for American consumers, Walmart's voice carries weight. And this week, their message was blunt. Top executives didn't sugarcoat it. Tariffs are choking their margins. They simply can't absorb the costs anymore. Starting this June, prices at Walmart stores across the U.S. will go up. Not just on electronics or big-ticket items, but on food, on household essentials, on everything. But that's not all. Walmart is also cutting back. They're slashing inventory orders, reducing volumes, delaying restocks, and even putting supplier contracts on hold. Why? Because doing business under the current trade policies has become too expensive. One executive summed it up plainly. There's very little room left to maneuver. The second signal came from Detroit, home to General Motors and Ford, icons of American industry. Both companies shocked Wall Street by withdrawing their full-year financial guidance. They told investors they simply couldn't predict the future anymore. Why? Because tariffs have turned their supply chains into a gamble. One week, raw materials cost one thing. The next, it could be 10% higher, or 50%. Ford has already begun pausing some production lines. GM is pulling back on investment. And Stellantis, the parent company of Jeep and Chrysler, just laid off 370 workers in Indiana. Their statement was clear. It's because of the president's tariffs. The third signal was louder, more symbolic, and it hit closer to the heart. Harley-Davidson, a name draped in red, white, and blue. A motorcycle that's defined freedom on American highways for generations. They're moving production. 3 popular models, the Pan America, the Sportster S, and the Nightster, will no longer be built in Wisconsin. They're headed to Thailand, not for cheaper labor, but to escape a 60% import tariff imposed by foreign governments. To qualify for tax breaks they can't get at home. Harley calls it a market strategy, a move for growth. But in Milwaukee and Menominee Falls, the workers call it what it is, outsourcing, driven not by labor costs, but by policy decisions. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button to support the channel and help us keep telling these stories. The fourth blow came from Peoria, Illinois, home to Caterpillar, the maker of the yellow machines that build America's roads and dig its foundations. This quarter alone, the company announced it's taking a hit of $250 to $350 million. The reason? Tariffs. And that's just the beginning. Their new CEO didn't sugarcoat it. We are evaluating long-term mitigation actions. In plain terms, they're considering moving parts of their operations out of the United States. Not because they want to, but because they may have to. Right now, it's more expensive to build a bulldozer in America than almost anywhere else on Earth. And survival sometimes means hard choices. The fifth signal wasn't a machine. It was a symbol. Nike. The footwear giant informed retailers this week that prices are going up in June. An extra $2 to $10 per pair, all due to tariffs. Over half of Nike's shoes are made in Vietnam, and those imports are now facing duties as high as 46%. So Nike is scaling back promotions, cutting back on discounts, and telling customers bluntly, be ready to pay more. 5 companies, 5 industries. One message. Tariffs aren't protecting American jobs. They're putting them at risk. And those are just the companies speaking out. Others are moving quietly, Polaris, maker of Indian motorcycles and off-road vehicles, also pulled its financial forecast this week. Their explanation: we can no longer plan with confidence because of tariffs. Target is closing underperforming stores and trimming orders as inflation-weary shoppers spend less. And behind the scenes, supply chains are coming undone. Executives at major multinationals, off the record, say they're shifting more operations to Mexico, Vietnam, and Thailand. Not to chase cheap labor, but to find something far rarer these days: policy stability. Because tariffs are no longer tools, they're weapons, and no one wants to be the next casualty. This isn't a phase. This isn't just posturing. This is an exodus. And the impact won't just show up in profit margins, it'll show up in pink slips, in factory closures, in product shortages, and in American families paying more for less. It's already happening. One supplier for a major U.S. retailer said it plainly: we're being forced to choose, raise prices or leave the U.S. market. Their decision? Leave. That's not the exception. That's the trend. And still, the rhetoric continues: that tariffs show strength, that they punish foreign cheaters, that they protect the American worker. But the truth? The truth is unfolding in empty warehouses, in canceled contracts, in shift managers telling crews there's no work tomorrow, in towns watching their longtime employers vanish. This isn't theoretical, it's real, it's happening. Now even the biggest companies are pulling back, scaling down logistics hubs, rerouting shipments, and abandoning supply lines that no longer make sense under the new tariff regime. Why? Because import costs have become wildly unpredictable. Customs delays are growing, and the uncertainty alone is making long-term planning nearly impossible. Tariffs aren't just taxes on goods, they're friction, dragging on every part of the economy. And friction burns. Ask the suppliers who can't hit their margins anymore. Ask the farmers shut out of export markets. Ask the truckers watching their routes vanish. Ask the manufacturers trying to compete with tariff-free rivals overseas. They'll all tell you the same thing: this isn't working. And here's what almost no one in Washington wants to admit: some of these companies may never come back. Because once a factory moves, once a supply chain is rebuilt overseas, once that foreign investment is made, it rarely, if ever, comes home again. Even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, the damage is done. Why? Because businesses are learning the hard way that the rules can change overnight. That one policy shift, one presidential press release, can upend years of planning and cost millions in a single stroke. They're not leaving out of protest, they're leaving in self-defense. And if the goal was to bring jobs back to America, the result is the opposite. We're watching them leave in real time. The most alarming part? It's being normalized. When Walmart, the largest U.S. retailer, announces price hikes and order cuts because of tariffs, and the markets barely react, that's not resilience, that's resignation. When Harley-Davidson moves the production of iconic American motorcycles overseas and it barely makes the news, that's not strength, that's erosion. When General Motors, Ford, Polaris, Nike, Target, and Caterpillar, all in the same week, say they can't plan for the future because of tariffs, that's not politics. That's a system in collapse. And it's spreading. More companies are quietly taking note. They're drawing up plans that don't include new factories in Ohio, or job expansion in Michigan. Plans that mean fewer products on shelves, fewer workers on shifts, and fewer paychecks in small towns, all in the name of protectionism. But here's the question: who exactly is being protected? Not the workers whose factories are going dark, not the consumers watching their grocery bills climb, not the small businesses caught in the crossfire, not even the federal government, which now faces lawsuits, global backlash, and inflation directly tied to these policies. The truth is harsh, but it's unavoidable. You can't tariff your way to prosperity. You can't punish the global economy without punishing yourself. You can't expect loyalty from corporations while turning their operations into political minefields. And you cannot claim victory while your supply chains are bleeding out. This week, 5 major companies told the truth. Clearly, bluntly, they're leaving. They're cutting back, they're raising prices, they're hedging their bets, and if nothing changes, they won't be the last. Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.